everyone, and welcome guys to the start of my F1 1980s career mode. And if you did watch the F1 90s career mode, you will know what this series is all about. You know, we go back onto F1 2013 and try out the classic cars around mainly sort of classic circuits. Now this series is obviously back, we're going even further back in time, back to the 1980s, and I have opted to use the Team Lotus 100T for this season, guys. Hopefully, you know, it is a very, very good car. You know, I want to be fighting for wins in this series, and I'm going to team up with Mika Hakkinen. I will be driving as Satoru Nakajima, guys, ready for this series. Really, really looking forward to it. Nakajima never actually got a podium or a race win, so hopefully, you know, we can change that during this series. But if you did miss out on Season 1, you know, well, Season 1, if you will, the rules are pretty damn same, you know, 25% races, dynamic weather, and all that good stuff. You know, try and keep the races nice and spicy. But if you did miss out on the first series, obviously the calendar, we basically race at tracks that had a Grand Prix, so countries that had a Grand Prix back in the 1980 season. So obviously tracks like COTA, for example, they didn't race at COTA back in the 80s, but as the USA had a Grand Prix, we will race at USA. Given the opportunity, guys, just having to run through the calendar now, we had Brazil and USA for the first 2 rounds, Belgium actually round 3 very, very early on in the season, Monaco was round 4 of the 1980 Formula 1 season. Then it was Spain that was actually a non-championship round, but we're going to head to Jerez for round 5 of the season, guys. Round 6, if I'm not mistaken, took us all the way to Britain, which I thought about doing Silverstone, but, you know, we get to race around that on the F1 2017 game and on the modern game. So I picked Brands Hatch, just so you know, for a bit of a change, if you will, guys. Obviously, we're not going to run at both British circuits like we did back in the old series, but, you know, we're still hopefully going to enjoy Brands Hatch. The West German Grand Prix will now effectively be the German Grand Prix at the Hockenheim, sorry, the Nürburgring there, if I can remember the right names. The Italian Grand Prix will actually be at Imola. I thought about doing, you know, both, but as I said, the same sort of reasons with Britain. You know, we can use the Italian Monza track whenever we want there, and, you know, we can't really use Imola here or there, so I might as well use it whilst I've got the opportunities. Canada is then the penultimate round of the season, as we're using all 3 of the other classic tracks, I opted to put Estoril in as the championship, hopefully finale, which could hopefully decide out who will be the world champion there. So a 10 race calendar this season, a little bit shorter than the F1 1990s career mode. But having a quick recap then, we have got Brazil, USA, Belgium, Monaco, Spain, Britain, Germany, Italy, Canada, and Portugal for a little bit of a shorter season, like I said, and hopefully, you know, it can be just as exciting. If you did miss out on the F1 90s career mode, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. But let's move on then into the Brazilian Grand Prix. So here we are then at the Brazilian Grand Prix, and hoping, you know, this can be a nice, exciting race to start off the series. Unfortunately, we're starting down in P9. I don't run qualifying in the series, I just race where the grid puts me. So Mika Hakkinen, I can imagine, will always be out qualifying me. You know, last time we raced with Michael Schumacher as our teammate, and he was always out qualifying me. And I have a funny feeling it will be the same story in this series as well. But just to lengthen out the gears ever so slightly, giving the car a little more downforce as well. So, you know, just try and create a little bit of change within it. You know, like to run a little less aero. But let's move on then into the Brazilian Grand Prix. So obviously my teammate Mika Hakkinen starting way up the order, up in P4. So we're going to have a lot of work to do to try and close up on him. But on pole actually is one of the Ferraris is Michael Schumacher. There we are then, Michael Schumacher doing what Michael Schumacher does best, as starting right at the very front of the field. We're down in P9, second to last on the grid between the 2 1980 Williams cars, if I'm not mistaken, of Prost and Jones. But ready then on the grid for the Brazilian Grand Prix. It's 5 lights for the season opener, and it's lights out, and away we go, and off to a very, very wheel spinny start, flicking the car down into lean mix and then back up into right to try and get ourselves a little bit of better momentum down towards turn 1 here. Having a look around the outside of Hill. Are we able to make that work? They're nearly contact between myself and Prost. They're going into the back of Berger through turn 2, but we do now move up into P7 of the Grand Prix. They're able to jump a couple of cars at the start, and now we're all over the back of Hill here, down towards the next corner. Are we going to have a look round to the outside, down into the corner? Yes, we do, right around the outside of him, and trying to have a look round the outside of Mario Andretti as well. We're able to make that move stick as well. So up into P5 of the Grand Prix, a very, very good start there. 4 positions made up in the first sector of the Grand Prix. And next up, on my hit list will be Emerson Fittipaldi. So really, really classic names in this series. You know, always really nice to see. It was quite a good mix between sort of like the early 2000s, the late 80s, late 70s as well. Drivers in this little game mode, which is really, you know, why I sort of came back to it, because it was really, really enjoyable. But whilst I'm talking about that, we go right around the outside of Emerson Fittipaldi at the start of this Grand Prix. So we're up into P4 already, and we're now already trying to eye up my teammate Mika Hakkinen for a podium position in this Grand Prix. But it looks like, I think Damon Hill has been able to overtake Michael Schumacher on the start and is already trying to make a little bit of a breakaway. So, you know, we'll have to wait and see how well he is able to do that. Obviously, Mansell was one of my championship rivals during the first series as well. But now skipping on to lap 2 of the Grand Prix, and we're now all over the back of Hakkinen there. We're going to dive it down the inside, go from very, very far back there. He does give me the room on the inside there, and I think I am just about able to get past him there. He does back out of it very, very early there. So now we move up into P3 of the Grand Prix here, and next up on my hit list will be Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari there. So, you know, once again, he's usually fighting somewhat near the top, and as we skip onto lap 5, we set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix there, over 1 minute 15.6, and we're all in the slipstream of Michael Schumacher. You're going to go down the inside of him into the next corner there, back out of it a bit, but Schumacher loses the back end ever so slightly with no traction control, and we now move up into P2 of the Grand Prix. They're able to pounce on any opportunity that does lie in front of me there, and now the main man we now got to try and catch up is Nigel Mansell. As I said, able to just about beat him in Season 1, so hopefully, you know, we can have a repeat of that during this second season where we step even further back in time. But on to lap 8, unfortunately, you know, we've been slowly but surely closing in on Mansell there, but we hadn't been able to close in on him just yet in the Grand Prix. As we come on to the end of lap 8, opting now to dive it into the pit lane here for my one and only stop of the Grand Prix. Going to go onto a harder compound of tyres here, and the pits on this Classics is just so awesome. It's absolutely brilliant. The coders did a really, really good job with this. But see there, we actually did get off to a fairly decent pit stop on the whole. I think we lost out a tiny bit to Nigel Mansell there, but we've gained a tiny bit on Michael Schumacher. On the other hand, you know, you've still got to just give and take with that sort of thing. As we come out the pit lane, I don't think there's going to be any traffic in the way of me here. As you see, Hakkinen, obviously not opting to take his pit stop, has now got quite a way in the lead of the race there. But by the end of lap 9, after Hakkinen is now going to dive it into the pit lane here, we are now going to re-overtake him, and I think he's actually lost out on quite a bit of time there, I'm not going to lie. Hakkinen, he might actually come out behind that huge group of cars, to be honest, a little bit further back, but we're still trying to close in on Nigel Mansell, who still leads the way in this Grand Prix. And as we skip on to lap 12, we have been able to close up a lot to Nigel Mansell here in this Grand Prix. We want to try and win the first race of the series will give me a very, very good start. As some of you that would have watched the 90s Career Mode, you would have seen how well Damon Hill was able to do in the early stages of the season. But all over the back of Nigel Mansell here, we're going to think about going for a dive in towards the second to last corner there through Jung Sao, but unfortunately Mansell sort of squeezed me out there, didn't expect me to go for that move, so he holds on to the race lead for now here. But in the slipstream, we're just ducking in right behind Nigel Mansell here. You're going to be able to gain a huge amount of time there. A little bit of contact made between the pair of us as Mansell sort of swerves in front of me there, but we now move up into the lead of the Grand Prix. They're down in towards turn 1. We just outbrake ourselves, just ever so starting to get one wheel over the grass there on the exit of the corner, running a little bit wider. Mansell is going to pounce on the opportunity once more. They're going to go right back down the inside as soon as he possibly could here. And now he moves back up into the race. Even Schumacher is trying to have a look right around the outside, down towards turn 4 here, but we are able to cut him off from making that move there. So we do hold on to P2 at this moment in time of the Grand Prix, and as we skip on to the end of lap 16 here, and now it's really starting to heat up between myself and Nigel Mansell here. Schumacher still able to pounce on the opportunity if it does arise, but we're still ducking in the slipstream of Nigel Mansell here. We do have slightly better longer gears down towards the finish line here, so going to be interesting to see if we can get a good run on him. Ducking in the slipstream, rich revs as well, 195 miles an hour. Go look right around the outside there, but we brake way too late down in towards turn 1. Then nearly get sent to the skies as we hit a bit of a bump there. A little bit of contact with the wall, and unfortunately that has completely cost me there. Unfortunate, you know, we were really fighting for that race victory, but unfortunately that little bit of a mistake. We just caught one wheel out on the grass there. Not really too sure why we got sent to the skies as well, but that was looking like a really good fight for the lead. If I'm not mistaken, Schumacher has now been able to pounce past Nigel Mansell as well, as he got a much better run out of turn 3 there. And as we skip on to the final lap of the Grand Prix, unfortunately we just weren't able to close back up to Nigel Mansell or Michael Schumacher there. But coming through towards the final couple of corners of the Grand Prix. Still a very, very exciting race, to say the least, as we run a tiny bit wide there. The gap to Nigel Mansell, 2.2 seconds. Just ahead of me there, but Hakkinen another 4 seconds behind. But Michael Schumacher is going to come through to take home his first race victory of this F1 1980s career mode, guys. Nigel Mansell, is going to come through in P2, and myself driving as Nakajima, we're going to be able to come through in P3. So still, on the whole, during that Grand Prix, we were able to make up a lot of positions there, which is always really good to see. Michael Schumacher, though, able to win the Grand Prix with Nigel Mansell in P2, myself in P3 with my teammate Mika Hakkinen in P4 there. So very, very good results for the Lotus 100T team. But Gerhard Berger did finish in P5 there with Mario Andretti P6. Last time out, champion Damon Hill P7. But having a look at the constructors' standings, though, Ferrari, the F88C team, currently lead the way, and we are in P2. But hopefully, you guys have enjoyed this video. Do not forget to like, subscribe if you're new around here, and if you want to see more of my F1 1980s career mode. And I will see you guys next time for a brand new video.